Cloudy morning here in South Africa in the Sabi sands. This is Safari Live. I am Noelle, and on camera today I have Ferg. Hello, Ferg. Ferg's busy with the camera, so I'll salute for him and also do the thumbs up. Yeah, we got a thumbs up. All right, so thank you all so much. You were watching the dam cam last night at the Djuma Dam, and you saw a female leopard that we're all hoping is Tundi. Now, I'm assuming the little zoomie went in, so you were able to see her spot patterns. So thank you everybody for the photos and for the video. Now, Ferg and I have found some tracks that we just want to show you that are over here. Now, because the skies are overcast, I've circled them so that it's a little bit easier to get to. Ferg, do you like the little circle or the big circle? Ooh, let's do the big circle. So the big circle has 2 tracks inside of it. Now, what we are seeing here, just for anyone that's looking at the circles going, Noelle, I have no idea what I'm supposed to be looking at. These 4 indents, 1, 2, 3, 4, are her front toes. So she is moving this way, up behind me. And then we have the 3 lobes at the back. I'm actually going to draw on the track here so that you can see. There we go. And then the toes are there. Now this track, this track is that length, but that length is longer than the width, so that would be the back track. So her front track is behind, which means that she was doing a slow walk. So here we go with the front track. And there's the toes, and then coming around. Okay. And then you can see that length and width are basically the same. So again, she's moving up the road this way in the general direction where Scotty D has been looking for her. So Scotty and I are swapping today. Myself and Ferg are going to go have a look for Tundi, and Scotty D is probably going to go look for maybe Hyena or Shadow or possibly the Styx Pride, but I will let him update you on all of that. So I'm hoping that this rain stays away. It should stay away for an hour or so. We'll see what happens. It looked like it was going to be a beautiful sunny morning, and then out of nowhere, here we go. So, yes, that is our plan for the day, and we're going to carry on looking for her, and we're going to cross fingers and hold thumbs that we manage to find where she has put her new den site, and maybe, just maybe, we get a nice little visual of that cute, cute, cute little cub. So we're going to head over to Scotty D so he can tell you about his plan, and we'll see you all shortly.
Well, good luck to Noelle on her quest to find Tundi. I hope she gets lucky. I certainly hadn't had any luck the last 2 days of searching. My name's Scott. I'm teamed up with Senzo on camera this morning, and like Noelle said, I will be searching for any kind of sign of Shadow or the Styx Pride of Lion. We're going to be working our southern boundary to start with, and both of those animals were in that general area yesterday morning. We didn't have any luck finding either of them in the evening, but hopefully this morning we will get lucky. Now, interestingly, are some male leopard tracks on this road heading in the opposite direction as us, but they look like they're from quite early last night. I noticed 1 or 2 Jenna tracks on top of them, which you can use as a kind of gauge to determine how old the track is. It's not a perfect science, because we kind of assume that if the Genet track is on top of the leopard track, then it happened a while after the leopard was there. But it's not to say that the Genet walked on top of the leopard's track 2 minutes after the leopard went past. So difficult to just use that, but that coupled with the kind of crispness and shape and outline and definition of the track leads me to believe that it's not really worth following up on. So we will continue on in the opposite direction. Other thing with male leopards is they can move huge distances, so it's a bit more of an undertaking when you start trying to track down a male leopard comparative to a female leopard, because female leopards have got far smaller territories. In theory, they're not going to move as far as the men do. There's a few tiny little droplets of drizzle coming down. I'm hoping it's not going to get in our way this morning. We're not very prepared for it. It looked like the morning was going to be clear enough, but we might have to rush back and put on our rain covers at some points. But I'm hoping that is not the case. Very good. Now, for any of you who maybe joining for the first time, I must just reiterate that this is live and we would love to hear from you, so please do send through questions, comments, thoughts, opinions. And it's very easy to do that using the hashtag #SafariLive on Twitter. Ah, James, you're wondering how was movie night? It was absolutely awesome. We watched a movie called Garden State, quite an old one, but a goodie if any of you are looking for a movie to watch. And yeah, we basically used the power that runs to the fireside chat spots. Not sure if fireside chats are now a thing of the past. But basically there's power that runs right into the center of this big open clearing, and Jared, one of our technical wizards, kindly went and set up the TV, a massive big TV, on another big box, and then we just drove one of the game viewers with lots of seats on it right up to the front of the TV, and we were all sitting on a safari vehicle cinema with lightning in the background. It was magic. At one stage though, we were concerned that the TV was actually going to blow over, so we were kind of taking turns, like making sure it didn't get blown off the box because the wind picked up. So that's something we got to work on for next time, just have the TV strapped down a little bit better, because it was a bit nerve-wracking with the thoughts of the TV exploding on our first quarantine movie night. Interestingly, this male leopard whose tracks I found about half a mile in the opposite direction was still walking all the way down this road. I wonder who it was. I'm not going to hazard a guess. I haven't spent enough time yet to be able to kind of guess as to which leopard it could be, because territories and dynamics have changed quite a lot since I was last year, so I'm not even going to hazard a guess. I mean, I could hazard a few, but I mean Tingana, maybe Hosanna, but he would have come a long way from where Noel had him yesterday evening. But it's difficult to be certain. So often male leopards actually use similar pathways. They've kind of got their territorial routes as a general rule that they like to use. The quarantine male sounds like he's extremely predictable at the moment, but sadly we don't get to explore where he's spending a lot of his time. David, you'd wonder or like to know what is my favorite sound of the morning. Well, lions or leopards vocalizing are very exciting to hear, you know, at any point in the morning, because then you can rush off and try and find them. But I think what's more exciting, and a noise I really do love to hear, is alarm calls. Preferably from a more reliable informer. Like vervet monkeys are probably one of the best for predator intel, because they generally only alarm at the big cats, occasionally birds of prey. Whereas tree squirrels, for example, as useful as they can be in some scenarios, they can also be a little bit frustrating because they alarm at just about everything, because they have a wide selection of predators. So I would say alarm calls in general get me very excited, be it in the morning or the evening or the middle of the day. That is one of my favorite sounds to hear out here. Now, as I was saying about the quarantine male, what is quite interesting, he is a leopard for those of you who don't know him, but I've been listening to the radio comms of the guys that explore the areas to the east of us where he spends time, and very often I hear the guides saying, okay, well, you know, we've got a report of him crossing at this road junction, therefore it seems like he's on a similar route, and then like 10 minutes later the guys find him, which is really good going, but it's because they know quite a few specific spots that he likes to either walk along and therefore rest along, and also quite a few prominent termite mounds where he likes to spend time resting and relaxing. So for now it sounds like he's quite a predictable individual. It's not always the case that they are predictable, but it certainly seems like he's a bit stuck in his ways, which makes it quite easy for the guides to find him. I'm hoping he pops across for a visit at some point, but I'm guessing it's probably not that likely because the territories are quite established at the moment. So it's not going to be a frequent affair, but from time to time we may get lucky. Alright, very good. I'm going to send you back to Noel so I can have my head down, stuck on the road, making sure we don't miss any tracks, and hopefully you will be able to get an update as to how her search is coming along.
Alright, Scotty D, I'm also still tracking Ferg and I. It's interesting, when Scott and I both have tracks, Nikki needs to swap in between us quite frequently so that we can both concentrate. So we're gonna try that as best as we can. I've lost my little tracks for now, but in general they were heading in this direction. So I'm just checking everywhere I can possibly fit my vehicle to see if I see anything, and then we might have to stop in a little bit and see if we can hear. Now my favorite sound to hear in the morning is lions calling, lions roaring, which I did hear this morning, but it was too far to get me excited. It needs to be nice and close. And then I like driving out, I get all excited, and then I like driving out and getting the tracks, and they're fresh tracks, and then following those tracks and those sounds, and yes, that gets my mojo going. That's absolutely fantastic. Now I just want to stop here for a second. This would be a lovely little place for Tundi to have put her cub, but I'm not hearing what I want to hear, sadly. We're in a little grove with lots of leadwoods and tambwetis, but the tambweti tree that's just to our sort of 11 o'clock is a gorgeous example of a tambweti. Oh, Ferg, you're up there, and I love it. That's the canopy. Sorry, sometimes I forget to look at my monitor, everybody, especially when we're tracking leopards, and I'm looking around. Absolutely beautiful. So all of these tambwetis that are here denote the fact that there's a lot of clay soils, and so because we haven't had a lot of rain recently, I can drive and track in where we're driving now. But if we'd had a lot of rain, there's no way I can really get in here. It would have we would have gotten bogged down. Now, as far as medicinal trees go, we haven't really done a lot with trees lately. We've been so blessed with leopards. This is a very interesting medicinal tree. So if you take the bark and you bring it to a traditional healer and he grinds it up and he makes a drink out of it, it's supposed to cure ulcers. But now for humans, this bark is highly toxic. We've been talking about how we've been braaiing at the DRC. So if we have a braai with this wood, you're going to get very sick. You can actually even die from some of the toxins that are in this wood or in the leaves. When you take off the leaves, then there's a little bit of latex. I have been at 1 or 2 fires with either brand new guides or brand new people to the bush, and all of a sudden you start smelling this sickly sweet smell, and you're like, no, tambweti, get it off. It's not very good. But this bark, elephants can eat this bark. Giraffes and black rhino will eat the leaves. I've seen monkeys and baboons going for the fruit, so it seems as if humans are really the only ones that have such adverse side effects to this tree. Now, these types of trees and the beautiful canopy that Ferg was showing you earlier with the leadwoods mixed in with the tambwetis is a really good shady, cool, and concealed area for something like a Tundi to bring her little cub. So it's also got large steep banks here inside this riverbed. I unfortunately can't drive any further in, but I think that we might come back out and then drive along the side of this drainage line, this donga, this nkova, and then come around the other side and see what we can pick up, since I seem to have lost my tracks in here. It's also a little bit dark inside of here, so it's possible that my tracks are still here, and just with this darkness I'm not seeing them at the moment. So that's our plan for now. It's also a good place to possibly find something else, maybe another leopard or maybe some elephants. The lion calls I heard were very far south into Little Gowrie, so I'm not quite sure that we're going to be picking up on them, but Scotty D might get lucky, and those sticks in that one Burmese might be around for him to have a look at, depending on where he ends up going. So yeah, that's my update for now. And let's carry on and see what we can do with it. And don't forget, we love your questions, we love your comments. Hashtag Safari Live on Twitter and also on the YouTube chat. Ooh, is Liz, what a great question. Is Liz, you want to know what my favorite tree is? Huh. I really love a leadwood tree, but I don't think it's my favorite. Is Liz, I think that my favorite tree would probably be a sausage tree at this moment in time. I think I jump back and forth, but Sausage trees are so versatile and so amazing. They have, I don't know if anyone is able to maybe pull up a little GIF of a sausage tree. I know you can probably Google and get a nice photo. They have these blood red flowers with little bits of yellow on the inside, and you'll see when the tree loses its old leaves, it very quickly gets new leaves. So it'll have old leaves and new leaves on the same tree, and then it will have old fruits and new fruits on the same tree, and it will have old flowers and new flowers. So it's constantly producing food for wildlife. It's absolutely fantastic. And of course, as you all know, that when you watch the show, I really love South Luangwa National Park, where there's lots of sausage trees with lots of leopards in them. We have one sausage tree in this area, but it doesn't have any fruits. I'll see if maybe later this morning or maybe this afternoon, if we go past, I'll show it to you. Now, while I'm busy tracking again, let's head back to Scott and see what he's up to with his tracks.
Yes, sadly no fresh tracks yet. We ditched those male leopard tracks that were heading in the opposite direction to us, and I'm hoping to find some fresh tracks of anybody else, really. Now, what was I going to say? Oh, you're chatting about trees. I do love a sausage tree, just like Noel, but this individual here in front of us is my favorite, and I think it's a recent favorite, the Marula tree. I've really missed them since I've been away, and it's not just the shape of them and the fact that they bear delicious fruit that we can make beer from, and the elephants really do love feeding on, along with a host of other animals. But I guess another big reason why I love them so much is that they provide leopards with their most likely spot to lounge around, either with a kill or in hot weather. And if it wasn't for these trees, it would be a lot more difficult for us to find leopards. You can see quite a few nice horizontal branches there, and that is the main attraction that helps the leopards get comfortable. So I think the Marula is my favorite. I would like to have a few planted in my garden one day, but up till date I've been fairly nomadic and therefore don't have a garden just yet. But one day I will have a garden. It will have chickens in it, which will provide me delicious eggs, and hopefully a few of these trees, which will provide me shade and my pet leopards somewhere to sleep. Only kidding, no pet leopards. That's not nice. We don't like to have pet wild animals. We like to have wild animals. But yeah, the Marula trees are such an iconic tree of this area that I think they are my favorite. Had you ever asked me before I took a bit of a sabbatical from the sands up in Kenya, I probably would have said the leadwood tree, because they often leave such impressive structures once they've died. They last for so long. Very pretty trees. The heaviest tree, I think, in this area. ID Kevin, you would like to know how to ID poisonous trees or fruits from the trees, and how would you be able to tell? Well, certainly not just by looking at the color of the fruit. You would need to just know the individual trees of any given area to ensure, or bushes, to ensure that the berries or fruits are safe to eat. There's no kind of trick that I know of. I think it's kind of similar to mushrooms. I don't think there's an easy trick where you can just look at a mushroom and be certain that you can eat it without either dying or going on a funky voyage through a hallucinogenic space. So yeah, I guess you just need to be a bit of a professional on the subject, otherwise it is risky business. Jamie, you'd like to know what the Marula fruit tastes like. Well, it's usually quite a sharp, not so sweet taste in your mouth. It's, in terms of flavor, maybe something between very diluted flavors of maybe an apple, an orange, and a lemon. But very diluted hints of those. So it's quite a short, sharp kind of taste. You don't get much flesh on the fruits either. You basically, they've got quite a thick jacket, and what you do is you kind of pierce the jacket and open the top part of it, and then squeeze the nut, which has got kind of a fleshy, gooey, slimy substance that covers the hard seed within, which is a very tasty nut. I think the nut is the tastiest part of the tree. It's just quite hard to harvest them. But what's interesting, well, not that interesting, but what must be noted is that just like one apple being tastier and sweeter than another, it's the same with marula trees and their fruits. Some trees just bear tastier, bigger fruits than others. So for us, it's more of a kind of a liquid burst than anything that you actually get to chew on. You can make a bit of a marmalade or a jam out of the thick jacket-like skin, which we will do at some points, and we will also be able to eat some of the fruits and show you exactly how to go about not only eating the fruit but also extracting the tasty nut within the seed. So that we'll have to wait for, because they are not ripe yet, and to eat an unripe marula will be extremely bitter. They're kind of a greenish color at the moment. They'll go yellow once they are ripe. What's interesting is that I've noticed some of the trees, quite a few of the fruits are dropping, and I'm wondering if they're not dropping because these trees aren't getting enough moisture. Noel was telling me of a few examples of, in good times, marula fruits, marula trees will double fruit in one season. It's very rare, and usually after kind of a drought they'll have all these resources saved up that if they get good rains after a year of not bearing any fruits, they can do a double load. However, I've never seen that, and I think the opposite will be happening now because we are having a drier summer than we ordinarily should or would have. Come on, leopard. Come on, lion. Where are you hiding? Shadow was seen just up ahead of us yesterday morning, but no sign of her yesterday afternoon. I did come and check this area. X-Ranger, you'd like to know if there's any kind of edible nuts. Yes, the nut within the marula fruits is edible. Kind of, I could compare it to macadamia nuts. It's quite oily, juicy, but it's long and slender and small, and there's two little cavities within the seed where these long thin nuts are wedged, so it's quite difficult to get them out of there, and once you do, they are not very big, so it's a bit of a laborious process to be able to fill up a bowl with marula nuts. Although there's one or two shops in and around the surrounding towns where you can actually buy them packeted, but it's kind of a, I don't know who does that or who opens them up, but it's obviously, like I say, quite laborious, and there's no kind of general stores where you can actually just buy the nuts, sadly, as tasty as they are. Maybe there's a gap in the market. Sense, should we start a marula nut company on the side? Well, watch this space. Marula Nuts Limited. It's going to be the name of Senzo and I's company. Maybe we can also do a marula beer. So we kind of hedge our bets. Nuts and beer, and the two will go together if we make the nuts salty enough. It'll be like the perfect trap. So a few tiny little droplets of rain. Kind of, it's weird. There's like one, and then you'll drive for a few seconds and then get another one. So very intermittent little spots, and let's hope it stays that way. Why don't you guys go and see if Noelle is experiencing the same weather across where she is exploring further to the north and the east. Off you go.
Scott, you're so eloquent this morning. Yes, I am getting a drop or two of moisture. I hope you enjoy your nut company. That's hysterical. And yeah, when 2012, when we had some really horrid floods this side, in the Clasiri where we were, the Marula trees fruited twice. It's pretty amazing. Now, Scott and I, when we were talking about this, he was like, oh, do you remember the distance, the time between them fruiting? I was like, oh my goodness, it feels so long ago. I actually don't. So I've got a friend that I need to ask about that and see what is happening. Now, we have not been able to pick up our tracks again. So there's two things that could have happened. One, she is inside that drainage line where I can't get the car. Or two, she's gone through the drainage line and is heading this way. This is what we're going to check. If we don't pick up anything here, we're going to go back to where we lost the tracks and then sort of sniff around and see what we can do. But unfortunately, if she has decided to go into a place where we can't get the vehicle, which is entirely her right, then we just need to wait and keep doing what Scott and I have been doing the past couple of days, just sort of circling the areas, waiting to pick her up and then using her to take us to where her den site is. Now, sometimes the leopards are happy for us to be around them all the time, and sometimes they need a little bit of space. So it's entirely possible that Madame Tundi has chosen a place that is inaccessible to anything but her, and that's entirely her right. And if that happens, then we just go with it and see what we can do. Okay, so now we're gonna check here. And the light's a little bit better for tracking now. Gigi from Canada, you would like to know if we see a bird eating a berry or a fruit from a bush here, is it safe for humans? Gigi, birds are not the way to go when you're trying to see if something is safe for humans. The way a bird digests food and the way we digest food is two very, very different things. So what we can actually use is, in general, sort of what a vervet monkey, I always mix it up, but I'm pretty sure it's what a vervet monkey can digest in their stomach with, as far as berries go, is what we can eat. In general, though, for us, so Gigi, you're from Canada, and a lot of the trees that fruit there, you'll get fruits that are safe for humans, and you'll get ones that look almost identical that are not safe for humans in those temperate zones. Here in Africa, most of what is out here, 99% of what is out here, we can eat as humans. The Tambweti tree I was telling you about this morning, there are still uses for humans, but it's one that we have to be very careful with. But most of the plant life is edible for us. Africa tends to be a bit harsh when she wants to be, so her vegetation and the way that she functions in her flora capacity is more friendly to humans in terms of being able to ingest things, as opposed to a lot of the temperate climates. I know where I grew up, we had to be told as kids, we lived in the middle of nowhere, and we had to be told and taught as kids, this one is safe, this one is not, and just you never put anything in your mouth. So yeah, as a thought there. Now, where we're checking here is one of the places where Tundi, we thought she might have gone after her first den, sort of down a little bit south from here before we found her second den. And it's also one of the places that she'll patrol a little bit for her territory, and also one of the places where she likes to hunt a little bit every now and then. Now, I'm not picking up her tracks at the moment, but I am looking around, so please excuse me if you see the back of my head quite a bit. Because of the type of light that's here, she's going to camouflage real well, so I'm also going very slow. Now it seems as if the gremlins are coming out with these few little drops of rain, so let's head over to Scott, who hopefully doesn't have any wet screaming gremlins with him.
Well, for now the gremlins are at bay, but the rain is kind of increasing ever so slightly in intensity. It's nothing to worry about really, but you can see a few little droplets building up here on the dash. Now, I did have some tracks of the Styx pride of lion. They were heading down this road in a westerly direction. This is our southern boundary, which means if they went left, we're doomed. What I do know is that, well, not doomed, just means we can't see them. But I'm not too sure which way they veered off just yet, so rather than establishing that at first, what I would like to do is just drive a little bit further forward in case they've possibly slunk back to the north, if in fact, or the south, depending on which way they may have gone. I'm guessing, if history is anything to go by, that they've gone to the left. They ordinarily spend more time to the south of us, at least they have in the last month that I've been here, than on Djuma. And if I don't find any more tracks up at this road junction, I'm probably going to turn around and establish, in fact, whether they went north or south. Michael, you're still on the discussion of fruits. You'd like to know if I've ever seen a predator eating the fruits. I haven't. Only kind of vegetable substance I've seen predators eating is fresh grass, green grass, just like your domestic cats and dogs will do. And also, from time to time, you'll see lion and leopard lapping up kind of minerals and nutrients from mainly buffalo poo. There's something that they like about a buffalo poop that they not only lick but also sometimes roll in. So those are the only two kind of vegetable things that I've seen the predators consuming. Okay, now I must concentrate. How much further ahead did I lose those tracks? Probably another 100 meters or two. And I'll be able to jump off and do a bit of a closer examination. In this flat light, it's tricky business seeing tracks. Had it have been sunny, it probably would have been easier to actually see where the tracks veered off. But we do not have the joy of a sunny morning today. I don't think the sun is going to pop out at any stage. Hopefully it'll be sunny up in the Masai Mara, where Ralph will be taking you around shortly. If any of you are joining for the first time, it's important that you know that we do these safaris in 2 locations. So you're the most fortunate safari goers in the world, where you can be sitting in the comfort of your own home, being taken around not 1 but 2 different locations. Now what I'm going to do is just pull over to show you some of these tracks. They're not easy to see, but I'll use my little torch on my cell phone to help illuminate the tracks a little bit better. Oh, I don't know if it's bright enough. Oh, that probably helps. You can see the toes up front there and the pad at the back. And heading up this way now, I just need to have a close look as to which way they veer off the road. Franklin just took out of the grass and gave me a small heart attack. I wonder if they're not nesting in there. I must go and check that later. So this is a fairly big pride of lion, and it looks like only one individual is still walking down the road in this spot. And it's not uncommon for lions to possibly one veer off and then the next one and then the next one, so kind of delayed response. I'm guessing that's what happened here. And sadly, I'm guessing that they've gone to the south. It's a guess at this stage. It's quite easy to see on the right. There's a bit of a bank of sand that if anything stands in it leaves a clear track. Stay away, rain. You're getting in our way. Okay, well, I'm going to need a little bit more time to follow these tracks. It's a bit tricky to have you guys along for every step of the tracking journey. I was a little bit worried I was actually out of range for my lapel mic. There's a little microphone hidden in the top of my hat, and it goes down to here. Mute, whoops, there we go. So that goes all the way up into this black cord, which feeds around into the top of my hat, and then this little cable here eventually runs up into this clear one, and that I need to plug in here in order to be able to hear what everyone is chatting about. Sorry I went mute for a while. Very good. Well, I'm going to establish where these tracks went. I've got a feeling they've went south, but let me just double check. And while we do that, we shall send you back to Noelle for an update on her mission.
Good luck with your lion tracks, Scotty D. We are still on our leopard hunt for Madam Tundi. Now, we are getting a little bit of raindrops here and there, but that's good because that means that the winged alights should start coming out, which means we'll get some good bird life. So we have been seeing the African hoopoe that was requested yesterday morning, but every time we try to get him on screen, of course he flies away. So I still have our ground hornbill slash African hoopoe slash black-headed oriole in mind, but if there's anything else that people are keen for besides Tundi and her cub, you must give us a shout and we'll see what we can do specifically with the bird life. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a good bird morning. Now, I haven't picked up any more tracks, and so I'm actually debating with myself in my head. Because 8 o'clock, in tracking terms, 8 o'clock last night is a very long time away. So, I mean, a lot can happen in all of those hours. So we're, sort of 10 hours behind her. So I'm debating about whether I think she's gone into that block where we lost her tracks and made a kill, or if she's possibly made a kill, and then maybe gone back to wherever her new den is. But it's difficult because she's not leaving very many tracks, and so one of the reasons why I'm debating in my head what she's up to is because of the lack of tracks. So for me, that's almost saying that maybe she's still with possibly whatever she killed. So again, just a slow little bumble around and just triple checking that my theory is correct. But usually your gut feeling is the one that's right. And then it's funny, you start to argue with yourself a little bit because you know what your gut's telling you, and then you start saying yes but this and yes but that. So I think I'm going to make this final loop, and then we're going to go with where I think she is. Now, the only problem with that block that she went into besides the drainage line is the fact that it's a very large block, and I can't just drive in there willy-nilly, so we will see. Ooh, Ellie, you want to know what the top speed of the guide vehicle is? Listen, Wendy could probably do about 80 kilometers an hour, but I'm never really going to actually do that with her. The top speed that I usually do with myself and Ferg on the vehicle is between 5 and 15 kilometers an hour. If I need to get somewhere when we're off camera, because I don't have any guests with me, it's just myself and Ferg, I might pop up to about 20-25, but we really don't drive faster than that. If you drive too quickly, you're going to miss things, for one, and then for two, these roads are not meant for fast driving. I wouldn't necessarily take Wendy out on the open road. I don't think she would do well. She'd probably pop a gray hornbill. We haven't done gray hornbills in a while. Don't fly away. Stay where you are. I love gray hornbills. Absolutely love them. Oh, sorry. Then please don't fly too far away. And then, of course, you go into some branches. Birds are not kind to us always. He's gone in there. But I love a gray hornbill's call. They have an undulating flight, which means that they flap and then dip and then flap and then dip. I'm going to try and... Come on, car. Come on, Wendy. Roll forward. We're slowly going to roll forward. No, we're not. We've got a bump. We're slowly going to drive forward. Here we go. Okay, so it looks like we might just get a bit of a view from here, maybe. Nah, she's still in the branches. Sadly, unfortunately. Alright, well, Ralph seems to be out and about in the Masai Mara, and we've just got a quick little view of that hornbill there before it flies off. So I think let's head up to Ralph, who has a beautiful sunrise that we couldn't give you this morning because of our cloud cover.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome aboard once more for another game drive here in the Masai Mara, just 1 degree south of the equator. Yep, we're in Kenya, and that's looking out over the Mara River. My name is Ralph Kirsten, and on the camera we have Archie. Thanks, Archie. Yep, well, it's an absolutely beautiful morning here. We're just watching the hot air balloons as they make their way along the Mara Triangle, and off to our right here we've got a few elephants that are grazing through the grass. Now, for the new viewers out there, please join us on the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter and on the YouTube live chat. Remember that we are coming to you absolutely 100% live from the Masai Mara. This is us watching elephants move through the plains, and we'd love for you to send your questions and comments, and we'll make this as interactive as possible. My plan for this morning, yep, you guessed it, I'm going to be heading back towards that hyena den, and it's nice and fresh this morning, so I'm sure we're going to see some action there around the den. But these elephants have been moving through. They're also quite full of energy, with it being nice and cool in the morning. It's probably lower 70 degrees Fahrenheit, probably around 20 degrees centigrade, so very cool. Now, IB Kevin, you're wondering what is the favorite thing, or my favorite thing that I would love to see in the Mara? Well, for the time being, it's that hyena den with over 80 individuals. So we're going to be heading there this morning, and we're going to see what is going to unfold, because with that amount of hyena in one place, it is bound to be full of action. So I can't wait to be spending some more time around those hyenas, and I'd love for you to join me, because it is going to be action-packed, to say the least. But for now, just watching these elephants move through the plains is very majestic, and what a wonderful morning it is. Now, for the new viewers as well, this is the area where we witness the massive migrations of wildebeest and zebra. They all head across the Mara River and then head towards Tanzania and the Serengeti. And the Mara River has its source in Kenya, in the Kenyan highlands, and it runs for about 250 miles, running through the Masai Mara, the Mara Triangle, and then finishing off and emptying itself out in Lake Victoria in Tanzania, 250 miles from its source. But this is the area where we witness that massive predator-prey interactions around the river. As all those antelope and zebra cross the river, they've got to get past the crocodiles, and once they pass the crocodiles, then they have to get past the other predators, the lions and the leopards and the cheetah, and possibly even a hyena waiting on the other bank. So it's really an interesting sight to behold. But for us right now, I think we're going to just be moving along towards the Tanzanian border to where our beautiful hyena den is, but we will be stopping along the way as we go for anything exciting that we may find along the way, which is always for me that road of discovery. We've got our mission at the end, but I'm sure that we're going to find so much in between that it's going to be really exciting. So let's start the drive. Let's head on out. Now, Toma
you're wondering when the big herds will be back in the Mara. Well, that big migration, it will be next year. So in a few months' time, once we get to about the middle of next year, that's when we're going to start to see the migrations again, and then it hits its peak probably around August, and September, October, November is that time when all the action is going down. So that's when you're going to be seeing that real migration. But don't forget, now is also a very interesting time because the predators have all had a lot of food, and it's been almost an overload that they could be killing an animal every single day and not even eating all of it, whereas now the resources have shrunk, but we've got the same amount of predators. So they're fighting over a smaller supply, and the demand is still the same. So that's why interesting for me to be around those hyena. There's more than 80 individuals there, and it's going to get interesting. Alright, so as I said, I'm going to continue on heading towards that hyena den, one of my favorite places to be, and can't wait to have you back. But in the meantime, let's send you on down 1,600 miles to the south, where Scott has a lovely surprise for you.
Well, thank you, Ralph, in the sunny Masai Mara. I hope he gets lucky with his plans with the hyena den. As you can see, we've got some cubby cuteness. And to be honest, I'm kicking myself. I skipped a beat. I should have noticed that none of the cub tracks were actually moving with the adults. And I should have said that the cubs must be stashed somewhere. So it shows you that I was half asleep whilst following these tracks. And it's 4 tiny little cubs. There's 3 of which are in a little bundle there. Another one's just to the left of them. And then it seems like the slightly older, bigger cubs from this pride are also stashed away a little bit further to the left. I'm not sure if we're going to get a view. Well done, Sens. There you can see a little bit of a view of some of the others. Now I'm told there's 10 cubs in total. I've never seen this pride altogether. Yesterday morning I did see them from a distance, and there was only 6 cubs. So it looks, and I'm guessing now that 6 of the cubs are smaller, like the ones we're looking at now, because yesterday I only saw 3 of this size as far as I'm aware. Which means to say, obviously, one lioness was away with some of the other cublets. Now, I wonder where the adults are, how far away they are, and how often they leave them for. They could well come back at some point today to find them. What's also interesting is that these cubs have not exactly chosen the best spot to lie up, because they're clearly out in the open. They're very easy for us to spot, and they're small and vulnerable. I'm guessing they're only around 3 months of age, there and thereabouts. I don't know the exact date, but for them to just be lying out in the open like this certainly isn't ideal. Although, I mean, it's just hyena, I guess, that are going to be their main threats. And there haven't been a huge amount of hyena moving in and around this area. And also importantly, other lion are going to be their biggest threats, and there certainly hasn't been too much lion movements other than their pride. So not under huge risk, but quite interesting that they have decided just to chill out right here. Cute. Couldn't believe my eyes as we were driving along and spotted them. Where are your parents, and when are they going to come back and collect you? Rosie Posey, you wondering why the cubs are separated, and these are the small ones and the bigger ones are kind of further off to the left. I think it's through default. A lot of the time lions will kind of lie up next to one another even when they're adults, like not right in a pile, somewhat kind of dispersed in the general area. So it's not hugely uncommon. There's definitely no threats from those older cubs to the younger ones. Maybe the odd little bit of bullying, but nothing too serious. What I want to do now is just creep ahead and get some better views. I'm actually thinking of driving past and getting some low angles, turning the vehicle around completely and getting us a little bit more eye level with them. We'll get some better views of them. We were shooting down on them, and such small subjects from a high point is not ideal. So let's try and fix this quickly. Interesting. Well, Noel says that it's not uncommon for this pride to leave these cubs out in the open, almost in a similar spot to this as where Noel remembers this happening. But Noel says usually if that is the case, the parents come back fairly soon to scoop them up. Oh yeah, we're gonna get some great views now. Matt, you're wondering if these guys are waiting for the sunrise to warm up. Look at how cute this is. Shame you guys are still a little bit itchy. They do have mange, which is why they're not in the best condition and why they are, or at least one of them is scratching itself. How cute are these little guys? So yeah, Matt, I guess they would enjoy the sun to come up so that they could warm up a little bit, but they're not going to do too much, anything too different to what we're looking at now, even when the sun does pop up. Now I've just heard an impala alarm call off to the left of us. Just one. So maybe if we're lucky it means that the adults are in fact coming back. Now I may need to reposition shortly, maybe not, we'll see. There's another vehicle coming up behind us, but hopefully he'll have enough space to skirt past and also get some views. Look at how cute these little things are. Hello. I wonder how long they've been lying here, how long the parents have left them. It's impossible to know at this stage. Now, what is going to get tricky, we are on a main road here, and because it is a boundary, multiple vehicles can traverse this area. So what I'm thinking of doing is, we've had a great view, and we are quite close to them. So what I want to do is go and maybe look at the other ones and open up a little bit of space where these cubs are, where it is going to be a lot more busy on this main road. So I hope you've got some good screenshots already. We're not going for good, we're just kind of looping around, and like I say, we're going to spend some time with the slightly bigger cubs, which are a little bit further into Djuma as opposed to on this main boundary road. Very good. While we get into position, we shall send you back to Noel.
Hello. All right, so we are still tracking Madam Tundi at the moment, and we are just checking through in here because these tracks are all over the place. Sorry about that. Just want to triple check and see that she hasn't just gone away for a little bit and then come back into this area where she was before. Philip, you'd like to know, in my opinion, which species has the cutest cubs. Actually, Philip, for me, the cutest babies that there are wild dog pups. They are, oh, I'm obsessed, absolutely obsessed, and I love them too much. I can't even deal when I see them when they're teeny tiny. They make my whole day. And yeah, I would love for the wild dogs to den on our side, but that will only happen, if they do choose, that will only happen next year, sort of August, September, and that would just absolutely make my whole year. They're amazing. But I think that also has to do with, I love the big cats, I love lion and I love leopard, but in general, in my personal life, I'm quite a dog person, so I think that has something to do with it. And then also just, there's not a lot of wild dogs left in the wild, and I've been very fortunate in my career to spend a lot of time with denning wild dogs, and they are incredible creatures. And just when they're little, they're like this big, and I can't even deal. I'm such a girl when I talk about them. Okay, so I'm just checking down in here. Just want to stop for a second. I can hear little birds chattering away, but I'm not seeing what I want to see. So I think while I'm busy trying to find what we are hoping to find, let's maybe head up to the Masai Mara, to Ralph, and see if he has any cuteness overload that he wants to show you.
Yes, thanks, Noel. And going from the cutest of the predators to the cutest of the herbivores, I would have to say that baby elephants have got to be ranked right up there with the most cutest of all. This is not a tiny little baby, but it is a youngster nonetheless. It's probably around 2 or 3 years of age. I would say probably in the middle there somewhere, 2.5 years. And we've just stopped here on our way towards the hyena den, and for me those are also very cute little predators that we're after, but they're quite sinister cuteness because they can also kill and eat each other, which is quite unusual with the carnivorous mammals. So we've stopped here, and as you can see just next to the road, we thought we'd have a look at this mummy with her youngster as she's grazing through. But this is our road, and so it's a wonderful little stop with a couple of elephants. Always nice, hey? Olololo escarpment in the background there. Now, Kimberly, you're asking a very good question. How can you tell an elephant's age? Well, it's quite easy with the youngsters, very young, because once they get about 2 years of age, that's when they get those little tusks starting to show there that you can see. So that's why I've made a calculated guess that this little youngster is between 2 and 3 years of age, because he's got little sets of tusks that have started to show, because they normally show their first appearance around 2 years old. And the little babies, they get the use of their trunk around a year of age, and so we normally know that is relevant at that time. So it's normally about a year of age that they get the use of their trunk, and it's not like a hose pipe under pressure anymore. And their ears also drop down onto the side of their head after a year of age. Then at about 2 years old, they get the little tusks starting to appear. After 2 years old, it's important to look at them next to each other, and then you can tell each other how old they are. Now, we do just have a vehicle starting to approach us here, so I am going to be starting up and moving along a little bit, but we can carry on our chat as we go. Just go nice and slowly. Now remember also that elephants are one of the only land mammals that have mammary glands by the front legs. Now, mass art, you're wondering when elephants usually get kicked out of the herd. Well, females won't get kicked out of the herd. It's only those young males, and normally once they get to about between 16 and 18 years of age is the norm of them moving along, or the females normally chase them out because they get a little bit too boisterous and they start causing problems within the herd. So that's normally the age. Now I'll just let this vehicle go past us. Morning, morning. So normally between about 16 and 18 years of age, that's when they get pushed out by, it could be the matriarch or could be any of the females in the herd. And then what they'll do is they'll move around either by themselves or in small groups of males, maybe that were kicked out together as a group. They can also find some other solitary males and also big bulls. And then they wander, and male elephants wander for most of their life and only rejoin the herd for mating. And this is this only comes to their mind when they're going to must, which is every 2 weeks or so. So that is the times. Sorry, I've just got another vehicle that wants to come past me here. We are on quite a main road. I will be going off this main road soon because that's when we head into where our hyena den is, and it's in a secret location, so we're not going to have any other vehicles around us, only possibly the lady from the Michigan University. So elephants, yes, the males, they actually spend a lot of time on their own and only rejoin the herd for mating. Okay, so while I continue on my way towards the hyena den and those beautiful little babies, let's head you on over to Scott, who's got a predator with other little babies.
Yes, we certainly do. We've now repositioned the vehicle and are with the slightly older cubs. I'm guessing they're around 6 months of age roughly, just judging by their size. And they are not going to be as fortunate as the elephants. They don't get to stay around with their mothers for nearly as long as the elephants do. These guys will be kicked out of their pride at around 2 or 3 years of age. But I guess it is all relative. Elephants live for about 5 times longer than elephants on average. Sorry, elephants live 5 times longer than lions do on average. So it's not kind of too far off if you get that ratio in place. Now they did poke their heads up a little bit earlier looking to the south. I wonder if they were listening to their parents. Lady Starfire, you would like to know what age is it kind of accepted to stay with lion cubs when their parents are away? And it's a good question. I'm not actually too sure what the exact protocols are here at the moment. I'm just using my own kind of discretion. It's a very still morning. It's not very windy. So, you know, I don't think our presence here is creating any harm or any increased likelihood of risk to these cubs. If, like I said, it was very windy and therefore our position might distract them and they may not hear the footsteps of other predators approaching them, then I don't think I would hang around. But on a morning like this, I think it's fine to view them. Also, you know, if you look at the cubs' reaction to us, they're very, very relaxed. So we're definitely not causing them any stress. They're not feeling nervous because their parents aren't here. So yeah, often I think discretion is the best thing to apply in situations like this. Set rules sometimes can not be applicable to all individuals. And what kind of further complicates the matter here is that we've got some slightly older cubs. I mean, these cubs we're viewing now, you know, they are big enough to be viewed without their parents. But these smaller, younger cubs, you know, there could be an argument that you shouldn't spend time with them. Some people might feel that way. I don't in this situation. But yeah, I mean, I guess that does complicate the matter a little bit due to the fact that there are 2 different ages of cubs in the same spot here. what never returned. Well, they would slowly starve, and once they got weak, predators kill them.
Sorry about that crash cut, everybody. You do get gremlins every now and then. They pop up, so we're still tracking Tundi around inside of this area, and she is doing a very good job of giving us the slip, but I am doing the best I can to keep up with what tracks I do have. And again, 8 o'clock last night was the last time we saw her, so it's a lot of time, but I am hoping that these will lead to wherever she happens to be, and I'm hoping it is possibly with the cub, or at least just finding her with maybe a kill or something similar. I do need to keep an eye on where I'm driving, so excuse the back of my head. How exciting is it that Scott found those little Styx cubs? So we had, it was my thing with myself and Senzo several weeks ago, we had a similar scenario, and then the mum started calling, oof, 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 and came up and fetched all of the cubs and then took them back into Little Gowrie to where they'd made the kill. And I did hear lions calling from inside Little Gowrie today, so that's entirely possible that that is what's happened. There's going to be a big bump. Lions, you're curious to know if mange can kill those Styx cubs. It can if their health does not improve after they get mange. If their health improves, so basically if what they're eating becomes more nutritious and they eat enough of it, then they'll be fine. But it can happen, yeah. I do know, I think it was the Styx had that one cub, little cub with Brent, that after the drought last year just didn't do well, unfortunately. So it does happen. One of the reasons why predators like lions tend to have larger litters is so that there is a better chance of at least one, if not more, surviving. They're not all meant to survive, although they all can. That is genetically why they do what they do. Now, sorry about all of the bumps and things, so just remember when we are off-roading like this, whatever trees that I do go over, they either bounce back or it's slightly dead or it's a very fast-growing tree. We try not to go over slow-growing trees. I can hear birds alarm calling a little bit, but it could also have something to do with a mongoose that might be around, or possibly because the rain stopped a little bit. Don't want to get caught in this buffalo thorn. Robin, you want to know if anyone's looked inside the vacated leopard den to see what's inside? Robin, we have gone to see if she is there, but we don't get out of the car to physically go and look, because then that means that if she needed to come back, she might not choose to come back because of all of the people smell walking around in there. So no, we haven't done that, and we most likely will not do that. When you know a den site is a den site, whether it's the first, second, or third den site, you go to view, but you don't physically get out and go mess around with it, because then her chances of being able to go to a safe spot again are decreased from that. Oh, Tundi, you really are giving us the runaround today, my little lady friend. Alright, I think we're going to spend a little bit more time looking for her, and then I think we're going to leave it and go look for something else, because unfortunately the little bits and pieces that I'm picking up are not enough to put our entire puzzle together this morning. I don't want to give up just yet, but I have a feeling that she's managed to give us the slip, although I am very happy that everyone got to at least see her on the dam cam last night, and then sent through all of those photos and videos for anyone that didn't get to see her. I'm going to check 1 or 2 more spots in here because I've lost my tracks again. This is a difficult tracking area. And we're just checking around termite mounds, on top of termite mounds, in trees, around the bottoms of trees. There's a lot of impala that have come out. Sorry, I keep reaching down to scratch my leg. We've got some biting flies that have popped up recently, and one has nailed me. We've got a little bit of the sun coming out. That's lovely. The rain seems to have pushed off and gone up a little bit. All right, Tundi, come out wherever you are. Okay, so when she's moving dens like this, a cub is 6-7 weeks old, she should stay at the next den site until that cub is about 3 months old. And then once she's done that, then she'll start having it out more and more. So we might have to wait a couple of weeks to get another good look again. But it's not the end of the world. As long as the cub survives, we will start seeing it more come end of January, which will be good. And you'll see it more at kills, and we will hopefully catch her walking around more with it. I know the other morning one of the Djuma vehicles got her walking down the road with the little cub. James Richard, you put out a nice photo from the photographer who took that photo of the little cub, a little wet cub with mum, and that was adorable. Ooh. All right, everybody, I think that we have meandered through the bush enough. I think we're gonna have to leave our search for Tundi for today. I'm not picking up any more of these tracks, so I think let's head back up to the Mara, to Ralph, and see what he's up to. And then hopefully Scott's gremlins will have gone away and we'll get to see lions again.
Yes, thanks, Noel. As we've headed off the main road, and we're heading nicely now in towards where that hyena den is, but just while we're coming through here, I think it would be rude not to stop just with this beautiful landscape that we have. We've got elephants moving through, and we've got the hot air balloons from the sky ships in the background going over the Mara River, and what a beautiful sight this is. The little youngster there moving behind mommy. It is absolutely beautiful. Very savanna-like scene. There's trees in the background, very flat underneath, and that's the browse line from the elephants and the giraffe. Whoever can reach the highest, and normally the giraffe can reach for the sort of top area, and the elephants reaching at the bottom, and that's the top part of their reach, and then it goes very flat because of that. So the balanites trees all being fed on by the elephants from below, and then on the side and a little bit on the top from the giraffe. So all shaped by the animals that feed on them. See that little youngster there? Look how the trunk is still a little bit like that hose pipe under pressure. So I would say that youngster there is probably around, well, below a year, or maybe just heading towards a year, because it looks like he may be just starting to work out how it works. And those ears have just dropped down a little bit down the side of his head, not curled over on the top. It's quite easy to tell that age up till about 2-3 years old, and then you need to look in comparison to the other ones. And there's the one in front of him, looks a little bit like a young teenager, maybe 10 or 12 years old. And there comes an adult. A very angular skull of a female. You can see easily from this distance. Male's a lot more pronounced and rounded. Jacob, who is 10 years old, you're asking two questions. Have I ever got stuck? And how old is that little baby elephant? Thanks for your questions, Jacob. Well, Jacob, I've been stuck many times, and it's rather fun getting stuck. I quite enjoy it, and then we have to get the spade out, and we've got to do lots of digging and collect rocks, and we have to use our high lift jack to get the vehicle up. Then we dig out where the tires were stuck, and we put rocks underneath, and then make it a lot easier for us to drive out of where we got stuck. So if you haven't been trying, you will never get stuck, but then you'll never know how to be unstuck. So it is one of those good things to do when you're out in the bush. But just make sure that you've got somebody around that knows what they're doing, or you know what you're doing yourself. And there comes one of the hot air balloons. So Jacob, your other question being, how old is that little baby elephant? I would say it's about 1 year old, Jacob, just because it's starting to be able to get the use of its trunk, and the ears have dropped down the side of its head, but it doesn't look like it's got any tusks to show yet, which it would get around 2 years old. So he's definitely younger than 2, but maybe around a year or just older than a year. As you can see, some nice adult elephants coming through. They do get a little bit nervous around the hot air balloon, mostly when there's that big jet of flames. And it looked like one of the elephants was actually quite interested in the balloon. I'm sure they must be quite confused with this massive round bird that keeps coming through every morning, but they do see it quite regularly, and they have seen it for many, many years. But you can see the way they're moving away. They are quite nervous of it, and the pilot is using his gas and flames to keep his hot air balloon above the ground. So I think that's what actually really gets them a little bit nervous. But there they've stopped already, and the hot air balloon has moved off. So not such. There it goes off into the sun. It's now just in front of us. Joe, you're wondering if elephants get colds and have their trunks blocked up. Joe, I've never seen elephants sneezing or getting a cold, as you may have asked, but do get a little bit of... and look how these other elephants are running away from the hot air balloon a bit. A little youngster, and there he's even doing a little bit of a trumpet. He's quite agitated by this hot air balloon. Look at that. Got his ears out, trying to make himself look bigger. He's trying to intimidate the hot air balloon now. He's reciprocating. Whereas the adults just move away, the youngsters can sometimes retaliate. Look at him. He's trying to see that hot air balloon off, showing him on its way. Tell your story walking, buddy. That's so very cute. No, so Joe, I don't know of elephants being able to get colds and flu like we do as humans, and I don't think that their trunks will block up. No, they're always able to suck up about 7 liters of water when they're an adult. When they're a little youngster like this, it's probably a liter or 2, but they need to work out how to suck, because very often they tend to blow when they need to suck, and they suck when they need to blow. Now, proud cat mama, you're wondering how long a baby elephant suckles from its mom. It can be up to 3 years, proud cat mama, so it's quite an extended period of parental care and with nursing. So normally between 2 and 3 years is when they are weaned, and they'll start to, around a year's age, they start to then feed on the vegetation. They'll start to graze and browse, but they do then have a real mix for that next year, and then it's normally between 2 and 3 years of age that they are weaned. But it's like any other little baby or mammal that is suckling. They obviously have the milk and all the nutrition coming from there, and then they slowly start to replace that with their normal diet that they would move on to, but they do need to have the milk at the same time. So it is slowly replaced by the vegetation as their stomach gets used to the new digestive process of actually a solid diet as opposed to a liquid diet. So very interesting indeed. But look at that, a beautiful morning here over the Masai Mara, and what a magical game drive this is going to be indeed. Now we're getting closer towards that hyena den. We've had a lovely time with some elephants. I'm sure we're going to bump into some more, but let's start up and head towards those little scoundrels that we call hyenas. We're going to be going past these elephants that were a little bit agitated with the hot air balloon, so we do need to be a little bit careful because they can be a little bit agitated and then they maybe pass that on to us. So it's a lovely sort of two-track this is, and lovely to see how we actually drive here in the Masai Mara. This is now off the main road. This is going into the grasslands, and we could literally spot anything around the next little corner. I say corner, there's no corners here, but around the corner in a road, because the grass is so long that it's difficult to see any distance through it at all, and there could be lions lying just near to the track, and we won't even see them because they're almost invisible in this stuff. And that's why you probably won't find too many antelope here, because they are quite scared. Tea tree watcher, you're wondering why the trees are so far apart here in the Mara. Well, it is a lot down to the presence of these elephants that we've been seeing this morning, because this area was a lot more wooded historically, and with a big influx of elephants and a lot more in terms of their population, they have had a big impact on the treed area here. So this area that we're driving through at the moment historically was almost like a forest, but these elephants have cleared these trees out and almost changed the landscape completely towards that being more like savanna or grassland. So very interesting indeed that the elephants have been able to change the biome almost completely, and that now it allows for grazing animals and animals that normally live in the grassland, whereas historically it would have been like a forest. It's very interesting. Very interesting indeed. So we're driving into the sun. It's a couple of those hot air balloons have put down, and they're all having their champagne breakfast as we speak. There's one or two that are still going. They only have around an hour's flight in the morning, and it's only when the wind is very calm, because obviously the stronger the wind, actually the more dangerous it is to be in a hot air balloon, because we actually heard a story when we were in the hot air balloon about one of the guys that got up in the hot air balloon, the pilot, and they went, and the wind picked up so strong that he was scared to actually land it, because it was looking to be very dangerous with the strength of the wind. So he was struggling, and he was obviously up in the air, and they landed up flying all the way into Tanzania. And when he eventually put it down, the army and the police and everybody arrived, and they arrested the pilot and the passengers, and it was a massive indaba. When I say indaba, it's like a massive problem. It's a meeting, and it took them a few days to get released and all the equipment and everything, and be able to come back to Kenya. But the only reason that he went over the border was because he was scared to land it, because of the strength of the wind. So they do need to fly night and early in the morning when there's only a little breeze, because they're at the mercy of the wind. They can't choose which way they want to go. They get up, the wind blows them, and they go down. That's all you do on a hot air balloon. But it is lovely to float effortlessly like a vulture or an eagle in the sky, and it's completely silent except for when he has to burst the flames with the gas that he uses. Very, very beautiful from up in the sky. So, folks, please don't forget to get involved and send us your questions and your comments on the Twitter and the YouTube handles, Safari Live. Now, when we were up in the hot air balloon, we had a very talented pilot, and what he did was, at one stage, he even put the hot air balloon down right next to the Mara River. So we landed there, and we were watching hippos and crocodiles, and then we slowly took off again over the little forest which runs alongside the Mara River, and we saw a black rhino with her calf, and very close to her indeed. And they just froze, because you know they obviously like to be in the thickets, and they are nocturnal animals. So being in the morning, I'm sure that she just kept that little calf safe by staying dead still next to a thicket. But they were looking quite confused as well, because looking up in this massive round flying bird, it must be very confusing for them. But as I say, they've been doing it for many years now in the Masai Mara. So like with the vehicles, I'm pretty sure that they have gotten used to the sight and the sound of that, but it probably still makes them a little bit nervous, as you would have seen with the elephant. Okay, so I'm getting very close now to this hyena den. Here's some more white-browed kukul that we actually saw yesterday in the area, and this one, I don't know if he's got a little worm in his mouth, but we're going to be sending you on down south to Scott, who's sitting with those alternative predators and also with their youngsters.
I hope the hyena den is onto the scene of these lion cubs, having fixed a few technical issues, so sorry about that, but at least we're back up and running. I initially had a look for the smaller cubs, couldn't see it. This is going to be, there we go. There's a gap for at least one. And I'm sure their cousins are too, tucked away somewhere.
So sorry about all those technical difficulties with Scott. I do know it's very frustrating. So I hope that they get sorted out soon and that we can keep, I'm hoping he's still looking at those little lions from the Styx Pride, and I'm not sure if the Birmingham male has showed up or if it's still just the cubs. We'll have to wait and see for an update from Scott when we get some signal back from him. So we've left the area where we were looking for Tundi. She's given us the slip. And remember, with leopards, we only see leopards when they want to be seen, and we've been so lucky the past few drives that I think maybe this is our morning where we're going to have to either work just a little bit harder or they just need a little bit of time off. Sorry, it's going to get a little bit bumpy here. So I'm just following up. That being said, I'm following up on some male leopard tracks that one of the Djuma guides found, and I'm going to see if we can do anything with those. And then I'm probably going to go look for some elephants, since everything else seems to be hiding. Sorry, hold on. There we go. This road that we're on here is a very bumpy road. All right, Scott. The update that I got, I have to share this. The update that I got from Nikki was that Scott has put his bum higher up into the air, meaning that the back end of the vehicle is higher in the air, so the aerial's up higher, so hopefully that gives better signal. So let's go back to Scott and see how his bum's doing with those lions.
Well, interestingly, I've actually put my bum lower down, and it seems to be increasing our signal. Oh no, this is very interesting. There's a whole bunch of hyena on the scene. Quickly sense. At 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, they're sniffing about. And this is not an ideal scenario for these lion cubs. There's two hyena here. They can obviously smell lion, and I'm hoping that they get distracted by the scent of the adults and follow that scent away. But with their senses being so good, there's a strong chance that they can smell these cubs. They're not going to be able to distinguish between adult and cub, but they can definitely smell lion, and often hyena will lurk around looking for lions, mainly adults. They're not kind of seeking out the cubs. They're mainly looking for the adults in the hope that they can find an easy meal that the lions have made. So we're just going to have to sit patiently and quietly here and just hope that these hyenas do not find where these cubs are. The bigger cubs I'm less concerned about, which is the ones that we are currently with. The smaller cubs, I'm not too sure where they've moved off to. They weren't in the same spot where we found them when we got back from tweaking a few things. Now I know we don't have good views, so we want to create this little noise and impact in this what could become a very sensitive sighting very, very quickly. So, and I've just heard over the radio now that those young cubs crossed to the south. So it's just these three older cubs here, which means that for now these hyena actually are looking in the wrong spot for the smallest, more vulnerable cubs. These bigger cubs would actually be an interesting standoff between hyena. I don't think hyena would be very bold in attacking them, but the smaller ones most definitely. Now you'll be glad to know I just got a glimpse of at least one hyena moving further away from the scene. Whew. I wasn't ready to see some tiny lion cubs being torn apart this morning. Not that I don't think anyone would ever be ready for that kind of a scene. But it is a reality. It does happen out here. And if we were in that area when it did happen, we would continue to watch and spectate. It's something that I've actually never seen. I've been in areas kind of where it's happened, but behind bushes, so I've never actually been through the trauma of seeing that happen. But it is a reality out here. And the only way to know exactly what would happen in a situation like this is to sit and watch and see what happens. Because like I said, you know, these three kind of older cubs, they may well stand up to the hyena. But again, like most of these scenarios, they can differ from day to day and time to time. Now, Julia, no, these cubs are not strong enough to defend themselves against these hyena. There'd be no match for the hyena. The hyena are bigger and stronger than them. But, you know, wild animals don't take as many risks as we do. And because the cubs are of a decent size, they'd be able to hiss and snarl and at least make the hyena think twice. And I'm guessing that would be enough to deter them on most cases. But like I said, you get hyenas with different strength and hierarchy and ability and kind of a mindset. And it's the same thing with lion cubs. So you may find 3 lion cubs that were not very bold, that decided to run from any given hyena. That would give the hyena the upper hand immediately, and you could get 3 other lion cubs that are a bit more bold and stood up to the hyena, and that would obviously change the outcome. You know, and that's just from the lion's perspective. Then of course you get hyena that have got different histories, different experience, different abilities and strength. So, you know, there's so many variables that it makes it very difficult for us to predict what would happen in a given scenario, because like I said, essentially all animals, both lion and hyena in the scenario, are individuals and will have therefore different ways of going about dealing with things, which will immediately impact on the outcome of that scenario. Phew. Well, I'm very, very happy that it appears these hyenas have slunk off, possibly following the scent of the adult lions, continuing off in a westerly direction. So let's hope that stays the case. We'll be sure to call you back if those hyenas do come back sniffing around the scene. But for now, back to Ralph in the Mara.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. And from one group of hyenas to another, albeit these are stationary around their den site, and there's no lions visible in the area. But if I was a group of lions or a pride of lions, I wouldn't be coming anywhere near this clan of hyena, because there is 80 plus individuals, and so they'd have their work cut out for them, because I think these hyenas would have the upper hand. There has been some elephants moving through in the background, and they did come quite close when we first arrived, but all these adult hyenas stuck their heads up and turned the elephant herd very quickly. Now look at these little youngsters here. They've still got lots of energy this morning, and they're moving around, where the adults seem to have returned after a long night foraging, and so they're quite tired and they've just been all lying down. Now remember that hyena, they produce very rich milk, and one of the richest milk of all the mammals. So when the pups, or the cubs actually, drink from their mother, they can last for a longer period of time in between drinks than most other animals, which is leaving the females to go off and wander for longer periods of time, which is very interesting. There's so many interesting things to talk about with hyena. And if you've got your questions and your comments, please send it through. We'd love to know what you think or what you'd like to know about hyena. And remember that we do call hyena babies cubs, because they're actually closer to cats, believe it or not, than they are to dogs. Hyena are on their own, but evolutionary wise they're closer to the cats, and we get the spotted hyena, the brown hyena, the striped hyena, and then the aardwolf, all in the same little grouping. And that is very interesting. And what is also interesting is that all the other hyena are generally solitary or in pairs, but with the spotted hyena, they live in massive groups, up to about recorded in history about 150 of them. So it's really a gregarious predator, and wonderful for us to have found a den site like this, where we can see the evolution of how how things actually happen around all the social behavior and the family tiffs. And with hyena, extremely political. Now, Safari Heart, you're wondering what animal has the holes that these hyena are using? Well, a little bit away from us, it seems to me like it was the remnants of a porcupine warren, but generally hyena will use old holes of either porcupine or aardvark or the ant bear, because they make very big holes, the ant bear, but the porcupine make a big labyrinth of holes, and they interlink to each other. So the hyenas might just expand on that a little bit. But this little area here for me looks like that of aardvark or the ant bear. And ant bears, they can make a new hole every single evening, so it's not like they would have stolen this from an aardvark. They would have just utilized one that has been left while the aardvark continues on its way looking for termites. And they make their holes on a regular basis, and this allows for a number of animals to be able to use them after they've excavated a lovely cavity into the earth. And as these hyenas are doing, you might get leopard doing the same, even lions. You've got a lot of reptiles that might go in there, like your African rock pythons and even tortoises, monitor lizards. We've got some birds that use it as well. Cat in Tamba, you're saying thanks for bringing the hyenas to you because you've missed them on Djuma. Yes, I know there was news that the little youngsters there were struggling a bit. The last time I was in Djuma, they weren't looking like they were too healthy at all, and so we wonder the fate of what's happened there. I'd love to get news, but I'll find out from everybody. But here is a massive clan of hyena, and remember that very political system and hierarchy that you get with hyena. The highest ranked male is lower than the lowest ranked female. So it's a totally female dominated environment, and these females normally stay within the same family unit and clan their entire life. It's the males that get chased away, and they go then passing on their genes and making sure that the genetic line of hyena do continue. But they are the lowest of the low, so they do have to be very careful around the females because they will kill and eat them if they step out of line. And that's the thing, that's the amazing thing with hyena. You never see a hyena. Now, Chamson, you're wondering if males play a different role in such a large clan such as this one. No, they'll play a very similar role as well, but obviously there's more of them. So, but when the clan grows, it's generally the growth is more to do with the females and the youngsters. And once you start to get males that come through with the babies, they will also get pushed to the side, and they will then also leave and try and find another clan, because remember that the babies or the cubs they fill the same position on the hierarchy or within the political system than their mother did. So if the mother is bottom ranked, the cub will also be bottom ranked. If she's mid, and high. So, but being a male as a baby is not the best thing to be, because immediately you're going to be ranked lower than all the females. So, and it's very interesting that hyenas can have 1 to 3 cubs, And depending on their level in the hierarchy, it can even result in, within a couple of weeks of them being born, the firstborn can actually kill and even eat the younger born. So even from that age, it is extremely cutthroat, and one of the reasons why I say you'll never see a sickly or an injured or an old hyena. The clan and the hierarchy just does not allow for it. If there is any weakness, they will be killed and they will be eaten. So there is no space for weakness with hyenas. Now, Julia, you're wondering what is the lifespan of a hyena. It's not particularly long, actually. It's normally around 10 or 12 years of age. So they don't live for massive amounts of years, and so they do make the most of it. It's only a 90-day gestation period, so it's merely 3 months, and then they live for 10 to 12 years, so pretty much the age of a household dog or a domestic dog. But remember that hyenas are not dogs. Right, so I'm going to be sitting here for a little while longer because there's going to be all sorts of little happenings around with these little cubs, and I don't want to miss a single moment. But from one group of youngsters to another, let's send you on over to Scott with his lions.
Well, we are getting spoilt with the cubs this morning, and I'm in a bit of a conundrum here because I'm concerned that as and when the parents return, which they will at some point, my feeling is that they are going to return from the south because that is where their tracks have headed, and in the event that they do, they will catch up with the smallest cubs which have already crossed further to our southern boundary or south of our southern boundary, which means these three individuals are going to go running off straight across the boundary to do the cute reuniting of cubs with the parents, and it'll be soul destroying to just see them running off into the bushes. Now, I could be wrong, and maybe the parents will continue out and come and drink at one of our water holes. So that's, in the odd event, in the unlikely event, in my opinion, that happens, I think it might be worth sticking around here. But my gut feeling is that we are just going to see these things disappear off into the thickets and not get to see the wonderful moment as they reunite. So that is what I'm kind of toiling with, whether to stay here or whether to go. Philip, you'd like to know how many generations has the Styx pride held this territory for, and I'm not sure. And what I would guess is that there's been probably the pride would have kind of fragmented, and you know, there would have been offshoots and breakaways from the initial Styx pride. I don't actually know. I don't know where they originate from, nor where they spend a lot of their time currently, nor how many generations they've had. Julia, you'd like to know if females within a pride will only care for their own cubs or if they will care for others as well. And as a general rule, they will only kind of suckle their own cubs. They will not tolerate other cubs coming and trying to suckle from them, and it is something that cubs will try and do. They'll go and try and get a sneaky suckle from their aunt, but that is certainly not tolerated. But in the event that a lioness dies and the cubs are orphaned, then it becomes different. Then lions have been known to kind of adopt and nurse cubs that are not their own. And also what's interesting is that from time to time, well, not interesting, but I mean all lionesses will try and defend cubs, but look after, as in mother, and look after, as in defend, I guess, are two different things. But definitely all lionesses will have a kind of maternal feeling when it comes to the well-being of all of the cubs within the pride, as and when they are under threat from other lions and or hyenas and or wild dogs. Proud cat mummy would like to know if these lion cubs would be able to outrun adult hyena, and no, I don't think so. Maybe initially over a short burst, but I mean, hyenas are quick and they've got stamina and they've got an incredible sense of smell. So, oh, quickly to the left, Sens. Those birds, the ones that are further. I was hoping that there were smaller babies. I just saw one of them. There we go. There's a bit of a youngster. Shame, have you only managed to raise one youngster out of probably 6 or 7 eggs? Would have been how many eggs these crested francolin laid. And it's actually the first youngster that I've seen. It's not that small though, sadly. I was hoping we would be able to find you some tiny ones by now, but haven't had much luck. And I'm wondering if it's not because the vegetation isn't as thick as it normally is, which is allowing predators to find these youngsters and nests more easily. But that is cute, one little happy family. Well done, Sens. So all the babies are out this morning, not just hyena cubs and lion cubs, but we've also got some francolin cubs. Safari Haze, you'd like to know how big are these cubs that we are sitting with relative to the hyena? I would say they are probably half the size in terms of body weight. They might be, you know, not half as tall. They'll be maybe 2/3 as tall, but not nearly as bulky as the hyenas. So height-wise 2/3, weight-wise I would say half. Possibly less, just less than half the weight of an adult hyena. I really would love to know a few things, one of which, how long have these lions been here for? It could have been the whole night that their parents have been out hunting. And B, I would like to know, where are the parents? What are they getting up to? Are they far away? The answers to both of these questions we are not going to be able to get to the bottom of, sadly. Maybe the second one we will. Maybe we'll be able to try and find out some reports from the guides to the south of us as to where they are, but not too sure. Now I'm told quite a few of you are asking me to stay here with regards to my conundrum about them disappearing to the south as the parents return, but I think I'm happy to stay. There's just a part of me that really desperately wants to go and seek out Thandi and her den site. I feel like we are obliged to try and invest as much time as possible into finding her and that little cub while the going is good. Thank you very much to Michael, who sent through some information regarding the Styx Pride, and you say they have been around for 25 years. But where exactly they've been spending all the last 25 years, I'm not too sure. Quite often prides do move. Hello, what have you sensed? Or are you just waking up for a look around? I think they're ordinarily from further south in the area around Londolozi. Hello, young Jacob, you wondering if I think these lions are hungry, and yes, they definitely are. I haven't seen them standing up, but I can even tell from that one on the right, its belly is very, very flat, and cubs of this age will be able to drink milk as well as eat meat. They'll eat more meat than milk at this stage, and yes, it looks like they definitely are quite hungry. So they'll be very happy if their parents make a kill, come back and call them and take them back to it to feast on. That's usually how it works with lions, Jacob. The parents will leave the cubs hidden away so that they don't have any distractions while they're hunting. But then once they've managed to make a kill, then maybe one of the parents will stay back to guard the kill and the others will come back to collect the cubs. I'm hoping that happens. Maybe we will get lucky and get to see them feasting later. Hello to Scarlet Sky. You're wondering how much time will they spend away from their parents? Will their parents spend away from them? 12 hours easily, sometimes more, depending on the luck that the parents are having. What us as humans don't really factor into the equation too much is that being an adult lion or leopard or any wild animal, it's fundamental that you take care of yourself first. And I guess the same applies for humans, really. But I guess our compassionate nature causes us to sometimes act irrationally. And that means that, you know, if lions or leopards are having a hard time feeding themselves as adults, that is what they're going to be their primary focus, because if they are not in good condition, how on earth are they going to look after their children? So you may find that sometimes lions will, not out of that they've got any other option, but they will leave their cubs for longer than they would have liked to in order to get themselves a meal. And sometimes they'll have to finish that whole meal without giving their cubs any of it. Because again, it's just most important that the adults are the fittest and the strongest, because that will increase the likelihood of them being able to look after the cubs. But if they neglected their own health to try and look after the cubs, that would be counterproductive. So yeah, I think 12 hours would be your general kind of time away. But there'll be times when they spend a lot more time away from youngsters than that, if need be. Wonderful stuff. Well, we are going to stay seated here. We are not going to head off. And you guys are, you all the way back to the Mara.
Thanks, Scott. Yeah, and lions find it a little bit more difficult to survive with their youngsters and their cubs, because, and I'm talking in comparison to hyenas, because firstly the females, they don't have as rich milk as the hyenas do, and they're also a little bit more nomadic than hyenas. They will move their cubs around to different locations, whereas hyenas are a little bit more stationary, so a bit more stable in their home environment. And so there seems to be quite a lot more ratios of hyenas surviving through from birth to adult. And actually the highest amount of mortality comes from each other and their siblings killing one another in terms of the hierarchy and the political system that they maintain. That's why I'm quite excited that we could possibly start to name a couple of these hyena, and the best names, I believe, would be that of African politicians, maybe like a Winnie Madikizela Mandela, and I'll have to think of some other relevant names. There you can see different age group of youngsters. Those ones starting to really look like young adults. They're probably at around between 12 and 15 months of age. So, and there we've just heard a little bit of a call off in the distance. And there they're sniffing the air. So remember, they will suckle till about 18 months of age, and they are very large at that point. Females of hyenas, they have a pseudo penis. So it is rather amusing that the females have a larger looking penis than the males do, but it is actually a very enlarged clitoris, and this was the reason why in the past people actually thought that that they were hermaphrodites. Now there's a classic example, even as very small little youngsters. It is an erectile pseudo penis and larger than the male's penises. And if you want to know a little bit about it, they urinate through it, they copulate in it, and they also give birth to a 1.5 kilogram or nearly 5 pound baby through it. It is an amazing piece of anatomy, but it's rather painful, I think, when they copulate as well as when they give birth. Something to think about. Oh, there's a little bit of a tiff there. Lovely to be in the presence of the family goings-ons here with the hyena. Now, there's Now, Michael, you're wondering, because of their size, does the hierarchy within the Mara fluctuate? Now, and there we're listening to them, their little bit of laughter. It sounds quite funny, but it didn't look like a funny situation at all. That was almost like putting one of the youngsters in his place. Now, Michael, I'm assuming that you're meaning by the size or how many individuals within this group. It doesn't fluctuate very quickly, like any political system. It does take time, and it does take challenging in order to unseat somebody from a higher position. So it doesn't fluctuate dramatically. There can be small changes and small challenges that do take place, but this takes place over a period of time, and it's not a fast-moving system. Like most political systems in our governments around the world, time is of the essence and does take quite a long time for change. But very interesting about the females and that pseudo-penis, they do have a lot more testosterone in their bodies than even the males, and the scientists believe that this is possibly one of the reasons they grow this penis. Now, Mimi, you're asking the question and wondering if wild dogs can stand up to hyenas. Mimi, I don't think there are any predators, especially with such a big group of hyenas like this, that once these hyenas get together, there is no predator that will stand in the way of these hyenas. Not the lions, I can tell you that. If these hyenas form a group, they would be able to push back on any group of lions. The only trouble is with the male lions, they can cause quite a dent, but with the numbers that these hyenas have, I think the lions would think twice about coming anywhere near this den site. So, very interesting that hyenas also, most people think that they only feed on carrion and scavenge, but the facts is in fact that they're actually 50-50 in terms of hunting and scavenging. So they will hunt at least half of the food that they eat throughout their day, throughout their lives. So, and they are very efficient hunters as well. When they start to hunt, they are actually more efficient than lions, because lions will only catch, between 50 and 60% of the animals that they actually target and start to hunt or stalk, whereas hyena, you can say 70% plus. So actually way more efficient than lions, and they're very good predators indeed. And the biggest technique that they use is, because of the shape of their back, very similar to that of wildebeest, a sloped back with the shorter hind quarters than the front quarters, they can take a speed and maintain it for hours. So the prey usually gets exhausted, and then they move in and rip it to pieces. It's not a good way to go, because hyenas don't kill the animal. Now, Anna Marie, you're wondering if siblicide happens with any other mammals other than hyenas? There's not that I can think of. That's one of the reasons why hyenas are particularly special. Now, that little one there, I don't know if he's going to vomit. Maybe got a bit of a stomach problem there. The one on the left of that, Archie, the little one, it looked like he was convulsing, making for a vomit, but his little sibling moved in because he maybe thought there's going to be a free meal on the go, such as the habits of hyena. He sees the one being sick and he thinks that that's an easy meal. Well, so yes, I'm not quite sure. I can't for the life of me think of another male that has siblicide. So now, a question coming from Fluffy. You're wondering if hyenas hunt during the day or during the night. Mostly during the night. Mostly they are nocturnal, but they are opportunists and they won't pass up any opportunity if it presents itself. So they will hunt during the day, and possibly also the subordinate adults. If they get a chance, they will kill and eat as quickly as possible, because if any of the other animals spot that they've made a kill, they will obviously, because of their higher rank, they will come in and take the kill away from that lower ranking animal. So very often you have them gorging themselves and eating a whole antelope, small like a dik-dik or a steenbok or a young gazelle. If they've managed to bring something down like that, they'll literally eat the entire thing. And we actually spoke to the lady that is researching these from Michigan State University, because I was seeing a very fat female and I thought that it might be pregnant, and she said that you can hardly see when hyenas are pregnant. It's very little difference or change in the size of them at all, but when they have fed and normally gorged themselves, they can be very fat looking and almost like they're going to pop because of their size. And that's how she literally looked. I don't know how she was actually walking. That's how fat she was. Her stomach was nearly scraping on the ground, but she was still acting like she was hungry like the rest of them, because I think she was just putting it on so that they wouldn't eat her, possibly. Folks, so while we stay here, I think we're going to stay here a little bit while longer, but let's head you on over to Scott, who I think's got something exciting around those magical dogs.
We certainly do. We've got into the area. You can see this impala is looking very alert. Now, it's difficult to say where these wild dogs are, but I'm almost certain that this impala knows that they're around and has possibly already been chased by them. They were coming from north to south, and Noel's also not too far up ahead of us here, and these animals could be just about anywhere. They could have gone to the left of the road, they could have gone to the right of the road. It's hard to be certain at this stage. They could have already made a kill. I'm not too sure how many dogs there were, but thanks very much to Isliz and Edward for giving us that update. Very exciting stuff. Both Noel and I have raced into this area in the hope that we are going to get lucky. Now I'm wanting them to have gone west or to our left, because it's going to be easier for us to follow and find them there.